as usual, we are streaming live for the second time. So bear with us if there's some freeze framing. We're trying to adjust the frames per second. It's quite the task learning all of this stuff. And we'll get it right eventually to where everything's streaming nice and beautifully. We are able to check out the screen as you see my eyes darting to the right just to see if the frames per second, which I forgot to switch before the show. But anyway, welcome to the podcast. Sitting in the cave live with me again is Big Mike the Messenger. Bam. Live on camera now to the world.
Hello, everybody. Once again, man, it is a pleasure to be here. And I'm pretty sure we're going to have some quite interesting conversation today.
Who fucking knows, man? That's why I put it on the register on live. Who knows what we're going to talk about? I'm looking at the YouTube now on the stream in front of me. So those of you that are watching the computer that's in front of me here, I'm watching the YouTube stream. So if you find us on the YouTube stream and you chat or bring anything, you want to join us or say something, I am monitoring that. Be nice. I know Danny, if you're out there, he'll probably join the thing and just say something ugly. Just does it. That's what he does. He's my friend and my manager, and he's probably the most negative verbal person in my life. Keeps me fighting, though. He knows. Right? He's like the guy in your corner, right, that like says the shit sometimes. He means well. I think that's why I'm okay. Personally. I don't know. But it was, I think like I was saying before, I think what I might do is we start the podcast where I may just go live like this and intro and talk to people and then just have the guests walk in and just to where it's just like, hey, how you doing? Yeah, we're live. Yeah, come on in, have a seat, walk down. We're doing the damn thing. I think that's what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
Play around with it every so often. Sometimes it'll work. And sometimes you just want it to be random. So
yeah, you do.
If they supposed to be here on time and they don't show up on time, then you just start without them.
Yeah,
when they come in, you can do.
That's the hard part too. When you do decide to stream live, I guess when we stream live though, we never really say like a time. You know what I mean? Right. Like starting, it's just tune in if you want to, as it's going. But yeah, we got a decent stream health going, but it's still trying to pull in front of me. But I like the kind of casual, because a lot of times, right, when people come over to do a podcast and they come to the cave, we end up chatting like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, depends on when my ADHD ass sits down after I'm done pacing around, getting all ritualistic with it. Right. When I finally sit down, we end up talking, 10, 15 minutes before the podcast, about good shit. And I'm known to be out there kind of like, don't say anything, don't talk about anything. And I even screw that up.
They're like, what happened today?
Yeah.
I said, man, I got something. He said, don't talk to me for the next 15 minutes. Let me go out here and do what I do. When I come back in, we'll get it started.
Yeah, it's tough, man. But when we sit down, I think that's why I think I may switch to where we're sitting down and I'm just, doing the intro, doing hellos, because I run my mouth a while. And then just walk in, Then it says, hey, man. Then you can sit down. We can just start talking. You know, I like that. I think it's, there's a real energy, though, that does get developed, in a talk. Mm-hmm. When we're sitting here doing a podcast eye to eye from each other, looking at each other, a real vibe share, energy shares between the two. And anything can break that, from dogs barking to phones going off or even just, prior to starting this podcast, when we're clicking on the buttons, all right, let's get ready. And the awkward kind of like, all right, here we are. Welcome to trying to sound natural as fuck. Right? And you don't. And so that's why that intro, I think, is a way to try to keep it more authentic to where they're just coming in the door on the podcast. Good to see you. I've never met you before. I've met you before, and sitting down like Dr. Bobby Hoffman's coming by Monday. This dude's badass. He's a professor at UCF and wrote a bunch of books on motivation and drive. Actually got textbooks on motivation and drive. But he's going to come by noon on Monday. So I'm like, you know what? I may just see if he'll just walk in. Never met the dude, just sit down. Good to meet you, and try it out raw from there. I don't know.
Give it a shot.
Oh, I'll try anything twice. That used to be my mantra back in the day when I was a bad guy. I was like, I'll try anything twice. I may have done it wrong the first time.
Make sure it's not a fluke.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but I always referenced it to be some sexual thing back then when I was that guy. Yeah, I'll try anything twice. I may have done it wrong the first time. It was terrible. Terrible. I don't know. You can still apply that mantra maybe in life, right? It doesn't have to be sexual. You can be like,
it's, there's a lot of things you can apply to life like that. The first thing about it, the first time For those who have tried to speak the first time they got in front of a stage, or whether you singing or being a poet or whatever your entertainment purpose or whatever your service is, every time you do it the first time, you're never quite comfortable with it the first time. But quarterbacks go through the same thing. The first pass they throw is a duck. Well, let me try this again, and they'll throw it again. Oh, that was a little better. Let me give it a shot again. Then by the time they start hitting their marks, oh, I got this. Yeah, I like this. Let's keep going.
Yeah, you and I talk a lot about speaking in public, and there's a huge fear for a lot of people about doing that. Right. And even for me, like, I can't tell you that if I'm ever speaking on any level, big or small, that the heart rate's not elevated, that you're not ready to go. But I almost thrive off of it, right? Like, I almost feed off of that live anxiety, right? It's like those butterflies are giving me some energy,
right?
And so people do have a lot of fear of speaking in public, like you're talking about for the first time and trying to do it.
Yeah.
And I guess there was a question behind that is, we started your podcast and you've done, 2 episodes now?
2.
Yeah, 2, and maybe another one soon. But, doing the Be Berry podcast, I would ask you, is there a difference, you think, between walking on stage and physically in front of a crowd or, this virtually, sitting live in a camera or doing a podcast?
It's a real big difference. For one, when I'm used to it. So I'm used to people. I'm used to interacting with a lot of people. So when I'm speaking, it's not about me. So it doesn't matter what I wear. It doesn't matter what's the environment. It's not about me. It's always about getting the message out to the crowd. So so when I see who I'm serving, it makes it easier because I already know how they're responding. I can read the body language. I can feel the energy shift. I can see if people start to get on their phone. I can see all these things. Versus when you're coming in and do a podcast, you're listening to yourself and you hear yourself and you can't really move around. You can't interact with the crowd or the audience, and you can't really get a lot of body language or feedback. Or when you look at somebody or and you start hitting some areas where you can start to see how they tear up, it gets to a point where you can just keep feeding it because that's what they need. Versus doing a podcast, it's kind of just in a room looking and talking to people or just talking to whoever's in the room, and you just kind of start looking around like, I don't know how this is going because I'm just having a conversation. So one person can't really be the person who this message is getting to. So it's a real difference. It's like, yeah, it's pretty much like being blind and deaf and serving at a restaurant. Well, you can't really see who you're serving. You don't know how much tip you got and so forth. So it's real different. Plus, every time you do something for the first time, I'm just starting the whole podcast deal. So since I'm just now starting a podcast deal, it's definitely different because it's something new. There's a format that I'm not used to. And when I'm speaking, I already have my format. Like I already have a plan of attack. And when you start a podcast, it's something new. So you don't ever really understand how the process works. This is my first, I'm just now hosting podcasts. So it's different. But yeah, it's definitely a difference between the two. But I'm sure I'll get familiar and get comfortable with it, and it'll be just like how I was with speaking.
Yeah, it was different for me, man. I wasn't even too long ago. Where I talked about it on the podcast, where I felt like I was rediscovering a whole new me. It was like being almost reborn again, right? Mm-hmm. When I look back at like 2013, sometime around May, when I cut on the first time, right? When I put on the camera I was living in Marco Island, cut on the camera within my office, where me and my mentor, Leo, where he and I practiced. And it was just streaming from a laptop from a distance, I had a shaved head at the time. Had the other 45 pounds I was carrying around. Tweed jackets, dressed up nice though too on some, And it was this guy that was like, "Welcome to the Cognitive Rampage. I'm this fake motherfucker," but I wasn't trying to be, right? I was trying to be me, but it came out like plastic. And I remember watching it going, fuck, and it's taken me years, to be able to sit in front of, like you said, and you see me, I'm animated, right? I'm moving all the time. That's how I talk too. And to sit still, and go express myself to a certain extent, without needing the energy and being authentic without the fear, I think has been a journey. It's been a true butterfly effect for me. It's been this evolution for me, man. It's difficult.
I'm sure, man.
See?
I couldn't imagine. Well, you know, I'm a conversationalist anyway. So, normally if I'm on the phone and I'm moving around, I got other things I can focus on other than just being in a room, knowing that there's a microphone in front of me. Somebody's recording me on video and audio. It's just different. So, I mean, I'm one of those, I feed off energy. So, a lot of times when you feed off energy and you touching people and it's just different. So there's a factor to where, being uncomfortable should bring about growth anyway. So, I feel like it's an opportunity for me to grow because it's something that I'm not used to. And who am I to tell somebody, if you don't like what you're doing, then just change. And then here I am. Nope. I'm not changing. I'm not doing any podcasts. I'm just going to talk. I'm just going to do what I normally do, get in front of crowds and rock the show. I don't want to get in front of, but, everybody can't find me. And I can't just go to New Zealand if somebody wants to see this or hear me speak. So this is just another avenue or lane that I got to bring to the table.
Yeah, because what people don't know is, you're in the schools almost every day, talking to these kids, reaching out to these kids. I mean, what's your main mission in these schools? And, I mean, maybe help define, because even for me, I know what you're there for to a point, but maybe, what are you really doing there? What are you trying to instill, man, at these schools?
It's a lot. The purpose really is just to build my message is always build heaven on earth.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen in phases.
On the wall right there, brother.
Yeah. So,
written on the wall from the last podcast.
from our first one, yeah. So, it's just, a lot of kids, they don't get love from home. And a lot of kids, they don't get love at the school. So they get love from the streets. So if they know, matter of fact, I think, what's the percentage? They say studies show that 80% of the kids who have one adult who are willing to support them and care about them become successful. 80%.
That's a huge difference. Just one parent in the home changes everything.
Just one parent in the home. But a lot of the kids that I'm dealing with, the mom's working 2-3 jobs. Father's in prison. Father's dead or just a deadbeat dad. And you got a lot of young males who never seen the carbon copy or the definition of what a man is. So when I go into the schools, they look at me like, look, Mr. Williams is a man. And I'm trying to be like him. I want to come back into the schools and give back the same way he's giving back. Or when we have mentorship programs and they're like, look, man, I don't know how to mentor this kid, man. He just don't say anything. Well, you didn't say anything when we first started either. Yeah, I know, but you got to start learning how to build a relationship. Because when you start mentoring kids at this age and they're only 2-3 years under you, now when it's time for you to have kids, now you already understand how to be a role model and how to start making connections at this age. So I'm really just conditioning them to be leaders. So between females not knowing the definition of a man, males not knowing the definition of a man, any civilization fails because of lack of leadership. So when you go into schools and you start becoming an advocate for the students first, then you start seeing bigger issues by realizing that some of the teachers are underdeveloped. So a lot of the teachers don't have what they need. So now you have teachers who lack classroom management skills because they don't know how to build relationships with the kids. Then they also struggling with the scrutinize of how they have to get tested. Well, how teachers also get evaluated, and if they don't make tenure, now they don't get pay raises, and they can lose their job. So it becomes idea of when one person struggles, the next person under will struggle if that's who they're under. So
it sounds to me though, it's like the parents of the children are struggling, and
right.
That's where it seems like that's where it begins. Like the struggle of the parents gets passed down. And I'd ask you, since you're in the schools every day, man, how I don't know. I think a lot of parents maybe have a falsehood in the school to where they assume the school will just take care of them, where it's, providing counseling, providing, all types of these things. Because a lot of times you hear parents yelling at schools for things that I see that I go, well, that's your job. You know what I mean? I'm like, wait, why are you screaming at the school for your job? And how much do you see, I guess to put it in a question form finally, is how much in the school do you see that these kids are solely just thrown at the school system to be relied upon and look out and take care of them?
You see it a lot. You see it. It's almost unbearable some days. Some days you sit back and you pay attention to the teachers and you see how the teachers struggle. So that's why I'm real big on teacher support. So, at least teaching teachers how to handle these situations. Because, man, when teachers go into this classroom every, like, was it 180 days is a school year?
I don't know. I've been out too long. I have a daughter, so forgive me. I don't know.
Well, 45 minute.
Too long. Too
so
many.
45-minute quarters. So 4 quarters, 180 days. So 108. They're going to war for 180 days.
That's too many in my book.
Yeah, because they
and it's conformed learning too. It's structured robot learning.
It's supposed to be, but it's not. It's not, because the teachers don't know how to control the classroom, for one, and then teachers have been limited, for two, and on the third side, the parents have really conditioned their kids to go against authority. So now when you see kids going against authority, and then you have teachers who really care, and between the teachers that really care and some of the teachers who kind of just gave up. Now, all the teachers who are in these schools, there's a reason why they're in it. Like, they really care.
You said that the parents have taught the kids to turn against the school, right? To blame the school almost, to see them as the enemy. Authority is the enemy.
Well, they go against authority because that's what they see their parents do. A lot of times we don't realize what we teach our kids. So subconsciously, our kids pick up on the small things, like yelling at the police or something crazy like that, or just having this idea, oh, police are bad, police are horrible. And then guess what the kids start doing? Because guess what the parents start teaching? You know what? If you don't put your seatbelt on, I'm going to get this cop on you.
How real is it? Because you're in 2 of what, D-rated, F-rated schools here.
Oh, no. Jones just got a B.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, go Jones.
And I haven't figured out what Evans' grade has been yet. It hasn't been posted.
Well, let's just say you're in choice schools that have long and lengthy reputations of population.
Right, Title I schools.
Yeah, there you go. And, is what we see on social media more hype about how these kids are fighting teachers, this aggression toward, is this an increase from what we've used to see or what you've seen early versus now? Do you see that as much as at least Facebook and media trumps this up to be? Hell, I did a whole podcast and went off on the shit for a while. So, I'm kind of asking somebody who's in the school, essentially, who doesn't have, skin in the game is why I'm asking. You're more like a consultant in the school, right? You're not really contingent to the school board. So that's why I kind of ask you, is it like that, or is this media hype and fear?
A lot of it, man, is media hype. These kids are good kids. And if you think about the time when we were in school, our conditions weren't as bad as the kids' conditions now. Like, you are a product of your environment if you choose to be.
Did you see those pictures from the Detroit schools online? That the teachers,
mold, mildew,
the teachers are taking these pictures. What the fuck is going on, man?
Well, before we get to that, we're gonna keep it to to what we see.
Yeah, sorry.
As far as
left field.
So
squirrel.
Squirrel. Yeah. So what I see in the schools is, you have a lot of adults that care. They just don't know how to reach the students. So, and the reality is you just really have to be yourself, and you have to you gotta become vulnerable to them. And I just spoke Thursday.
That's a hell of a way to approach it. I mean, for the most part, you're telling a teacher who's walking into an environment that they perceive it to be as wild, and you're saying that first they got to be vulnerable.
You have to be vulnerable, because, and this is one of my secrets. So kids always ask, so who are you? And we're like, well, there's some kids in here who already know who I am. Let's ask them. They said, no, we want you to tell us. So who are you? So Thursday is a real good example, because I started telling them about my story, and one girl ended up saying, well, you know what? You're right, because I was at a part where I was telling them, I said, well, you know what? I said, sometimes we just got to be aware that our parents they were underdeveloped. So our parents didn't know what they were doing. Our parents can't give us anything that wasn't poured in or passed down to them. Let's say you have a marble in your pocket and you have 9 coins in your pocket, and somebody asks you for an eraser. If it's never been put in you, you can't pull out an eraser. You can only give them marbles and coins. And sometimes that eraser is going to be that idea of forgiveness. And a lot of parents haven't poured forgiveness into them. They haven't poured love into them. They don't know their kids' love language. So kids are always feeling like they're being misunderstood. So
they walk around with this aggression.
And that's part of it. That's part of it. But the other reason is because they raise themselves. The mom's just covering the bills. The mom don't sit down. Week before last, I talked to a girl, And well, I was in Miss Fields' office. So shout out to Miss Fields at Evans High School. Just made Teacher of the Year for Evans.
Just
So
yeah, Teacher of the Year, man. Go Miss Fields.
yeah, so
Making Evans bringing up to an A school, man. I hope you do it.
yes,
My parents went to Evans High School. That's how deep. I'm from Pine Hills, man. So Evans is a part of my history and upbringing in a sense, you know. So I cheer for that to happen. Shout out to her, man. Just no kids' names, bro.
oh, okay, no
Yeah.
worries.
You haven't said any. I just, yeah.
So what ended up happening was the kid sat down and Miss Fields' mom was in there too. So she ended up saying, well, you know what, well, her mom always call and say that she worried about what she not doing, and if she's here and if she's there, and her mom always saying she lying, and every time her mom call, like I get on the phone with her mom and her mom saying this and saying that, and she was like, well, I don't know what's going on with these kids. So I looked at Miss Fields' mom and I said, Mrs. Fields, you got to realize you're not a typical parent. She was like, what do you mean? I said, her mom probably doesn't have conversations with you like you had with Miss Fields. She was like, well, and then you looked at the girl and you started seeing tears come out. And she was like, my mom just never talks to me. My mom always talks at me.
Oh,
And I just want to have time with my mom, but my mom never makes time for me.
that's big. Talks at me, not to me. That's huge, man.
So, so between them not feeling love and then you got somebody to come in and, man, I'm telling you, it works both ends. Just them being able to have a male pull to the side and have a conversation with them makes a world of a difference. So, at Evans, they just call me uncle because they know whatever it is, they want to talk. I say, all right, I'm gonna come to your class. So what class period you got a good break? You got Spanish? Yeah, I got. What about chorus? I'll come to your chorus class. They were like, all right. So I come to the chorus class, talk to the teacher. Teacher let me pull them out, and we just have a talk about life. And that's what they've been missing. So they've been missing that one-on-one. So sometimes I'm filling in the void for father figures when girls want to ask questions like, how do you tell if a man loved me, or just Tuesday. Just Tuesday, I found out that one of the girls, her boyfriend broke up with her Monday. So she felt devalued.
They do, man.
So, just not having a healthy relationship with any older male figure that's more like a role model or just a real man, it plays a big role to them. So, so they always looking for that validation. And if they don't get that validation, now when they get out in the streets, they just looking for validation from any male because they'd rather just have any male than to not have a male.
Yeah, that's the truth. They do. They substitute that a lot, man. And I mean, having a daughter myself, going through some of the questions, even some you're bringing up have been around recently, things we've discussed. And I think a lot of people take that for granted. They take the fact that, my daughter can tell me, hey, I broke up with so-and-so. And we can talk about what it was like and what it went through and what she felt. And those small questions, as you grow, imagine trying to raise yourself without even being able to ask the smallest question about what's healthy to eat, or any of this, and you're right. That's what's missing. I think people do. They assume. Well, I say assumptions and expectations ruin relationships. So if teachers are making assumptions about the students based on expectations, then you know why you have a disastrous relationship.
Right. And it goes along with the males too.
And excuse me, as you can see here live, Steve's not able to join us today, so I get to be the click person. So don't think you see it. I'm not trying to hide it, So It's kind of point and click, man. So,
well, it also happens with the males too, because the males keep thinking that they listen to the radio and they listen and they watch movies and they think that being a man is jumping out here sleeping with a lot of different women and starting off by how many other women you can get. That shows what kind of man you really are. But the reality is trying to be that player. You playing your community. You playing everything about you. You playing your kids. You playing your kids' baby moms. And you playing everybody else because you're starting that curse by having them think that is normal to just be without a father being in the household. So you're lowering the standards, thinking that you're playing. And the reality is when you go in and you start talking to these young men and say, hey, look, bruh, let me tell you how it really works. You don't want to be out here trying to just mess around with all these girls because right now they're going to be a distraction and you haven't developed into being who you're supposed to be at. And you only get a certain amount of energy every day. And you're going to need some energy to make sure you keep developing yourself until you find yourself at a platform to where you're ready to have them. And, that goes real big. That goes pretty far with them because when they look at you and they see that you're an attractive fella and they're like, Mr. Williams, you can get See, I know what I can get,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still being developed. So if I'm still being developed, think about how far of a difference of potential that we are.
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point, man, and it's a point a lot of people, I think, miss. Um, there was a time, I coached at the YMCA for 2 years. I was nothing more. It was one of the most critical times of my life. Those kids almost helped finish saving my life. I was the end of my 2-year walkabout, and I just came back and started coaching them kids. And I loved being around them, and they were 9, 10, and not yet quite stained by society. You know what I mean? They're just playing football because it's fun. They're just playing flag. They're not trying to, have some honor bestowed upon their trophy like victories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the crescendo of my rant is, how much do you think, because I think it's a lot, that they steer away from helping kids, whether it's in community groups like Boys and Girls Clubs or in the schools like you do, out of fear of sexual harassment, retaliation, accusations. You see that a lot. And even the mere accusation from someone of that age group, be that boy or girl or anything, is enough to destroy someone's life for a long, long time. And so how much of this do you think plays into roles in people's choices of whether they decide to coach an all-girls team or coach an all-boys team or go into the schools as a young, attractive male such as yourself, where young ladies look for role models and, they can develop relationships in their own mind that don't even exist, I mean, that's a high-risk place. Now, it is. You know what I mean? There was a time where you could help. Bill Burr, the comedian, who I think is one of the greats of our time.
Right.
He jokes about how he loves kids, but he's scared to even look at them now because they're like, I'll get in trouble. You know what I mean? So he used to make faces at them, mess with them, right? But he's scared that if he's doing that, he jokes about how people look at him like, what are you doing? Like he's some sort of evil villain for messing with the kid. And that sticks in people's minds. I mean, I think comedians are philosophers, and if they're joking about it, I think this means it happens, Yeah. And hell, I think about it. I get worried when my daughter was younger and she would have like a 12-girl sleepover. I mean, I bounced. I'm like, I'm not staying in the house. It'd be middle schoolers and stuff like that. It was just safe. My brother worked in the school system for years. He had a rule, never alone. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so the never alone rule I took. And so just the fact that there were 12 middle school girls in my house, I'm like, nah, I'm going to go stay with my brother tonight. Do you think about that? Is that, do you see that happening? I mean, what's that? I mean, is it like, and I know it's a lot of questions, but you'll talk for a while. Yeah. Do you think it keeps people out from helping?
No, it doesn't keep people out. A lot of things that keep people out is the fact that they just can't afford the time. That's for one. For two, we become such a materialistic society. People don't know how to become minimalist and focus on what really matters.
Ooh,
so somebody would rather go get this 745 BMW and have to work 50 hours than to work 40 hours and give back to the youth. Or you'll have another one where it's like, a lot of people some people just don't meet the requirements. Here in Orlando, you got a lot of males that are felons, and then you got people that just can't pass the background check because if you're gonna come into the school district here in Orlando, you gotta make sure you have a clean background. They don't take any chances. Yeah. So and I like it like that because
it's a huge vetting process, dude. I tried to go take my daughter out of school the other day just because it was daddy-daughter skip day. We do that once in a while. Mm-hmm. And it was like I was pulling my daughter out of a fucking compound. I was kind of nerve-wracked by it. I mean, truth be told, I wasn't so sure I liked it. Because I parked, I'm in one way in, one way out. Right. It's a fucking walled-off thing. You feel safe, you know what I mean? Walk-in shooters and all this crazy shit. But you kind of go, what the fucking, how did we let it get to a point to where we had to wall in our students from the outside world completely? And when I had to pull her out, it was like, check this ID, check that ID. I couldn't move. They had to come to me. I mean, I like that protection, don't get me wrong. But it sure felt like a fucking compound. It sure felt like I was like, are you in like where the fuck are you? Are you in a place to learn and grow, or are you in a place to be like manufactured and processed, man? It was trippy, man. They're like that. So I mean, it's good, right? Because they don't want, obviously, you don't want people in there handling it.
Yeah,
But
and it eliminates, for one, it eliminates the distractions. For two, the kids feel safe because they know if it's hard for them to get out of the school, they know it's going to be hard for people to come into the school.
yeah.
So, it eliminates a lot of distractions. So when they come to school, they
But it's a
feel
double-edged
safe.
sword, because now when people just want to come into the school to help, it's a fucking process. I can't just go to the school. You know what I mean? It's a process.
Well, think about it like this.
Kind of like flying, right? Once the TSA got in there, yeah, we felt safe, but fuck my life now if I want to fly anywhere.
Would you want a complete stranger who had no background check to
not.
come in and have a conversation with your daughter, or just
Yeah,
to become
you're right.
the volleyball coach?
You're right. Of course not. Of course not. I'm
Right.
all for the background check. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely am. It's that fine line, I guess, because you want to help the community and get as many people as you can get in there.
But
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The problem is the school isn't the only place you can help.
Yeah.
Don't think it's just a school. You can always, man. You have so many nonprofit organizations who are always looking for help.
Do you know some that we could help? Like, where could listeners help out?
Well, you
if they're
still
looking?
got the Boys and Girls Club that are always looking for people to come in and show support. Now you're gonna have to get the background check there too, because for one, Orlando is phenomenal for kids, so they always protecting the kids first.
Yeah, Disney helps do that.
Yeah,
they help also fuck up a lot of shit in the city too.
I just stick to the kids.
I'm sorry. Forget the conspiracy. It came out there for a minute. I was raised with the mouse, man. So, yeah. The mouse does good things too. Don't get me wrong.
I stay in my lane. If they supporting the kids, I'm supporting the kids.
There you go. All right. So apparently you don't answer to the school board, but you do answer to a rodent.
No, I don't answer to no rodent either.
I'm kidding.
No rat. But yes, but it's honestly, you have tons of Boys and Girls Clubs. You have Big Brother, Big Sister. So if you want a mentor, you can always go to them. They really only ask you to come out twice a month.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
See the kids twice a month.
Yeah.
And that's more than most of them ever seen their parents.
And one conversation, man, can change the world for a kid.
It could, and it's huge. Like it's big. It's major.
Yeah.
You never really know.
We were talking. You were actually talking about how somebody was buying. They were talking about helping and then showing off a lot of money, but yet they were buying a bunch of other things. You're talking about being a minimalist,
right?
Yeah, of that point. And I got into a fun debate with my mom. We do that a lot. That's probably part her, but anyway, I took the position, just for argument's sake. Anquan Bolden was giving his NFL Man of the Year commencement thank you, right? And he's done a lot of wonderful things for people. I don't want to get that twisted. The man has done great things, should have deserved the award, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Granted. The opening of the Super Bowl's turned into like an 18-hour thing on TV. It's fucking crazy. So one of those pre-shows, they were doing like one of those cribs, MTV cribs type things, with Anquan. They were walking through his closet and his house and everything he has. And he was showing off his shoe collection, his eyeglass, sunglasses collection was just amazing. Thousands of dollars a pair, and then they give him the NFL Man of the Award. And look, this dude gives out his share of funds. Don't get it twisted, And he does also say that, hey, my purpose wasn't to play football. I use this money as a position to, help. And I agreed with everything he said. But I could not get out of my mind what I'd watched 3 hours prior is the walk through a fucking one of his mansions with 80,000 pairs of sunglasses. And I thought, how many books is that? How many heaters in a home is that? You know what I mean? All I could think about was all those kids you're helping that looks good on camera with a handshake the day you showed up at the hospital to kiss the dude with cancer. You know what I mean? I get it. That's love. You need to do that. I don't want to downplay that. Right. But it was hard, brother. I couldn't ignore. Like, you were just showing me, like, $1 million in sunglasses and sneakers.
All right. So you ready?
All right, I'm ready.
All right, so here's the debate. Let's say you're making $65,000 a game. Right?
He's doing that a minute, bro. I mean,
right. So you're making $65,000 a game, and I'm not quite sure how much he's making, but the point that I'm going to make is all that he spent was peanuts in reference to how it really is. Am I blurry over there? I'm blurry.
Huh? It may catch back up the cameras, man.
Oh. Yeah,
we're learning. We're learning.
So it's like according to his budget, that's still nothing. That's still pennies on a dollar to him. But to us, it would take us forever. So you gotta really look at it. It's not stunting if you got it.
Well, let me ask. So I looked it up. Anquan Bolden signed a 2-year, $12 million contract.
Oh yeah,
including a $4.5 million signing bonus with $9 million guaranteed, with an average annual salary of $6 million in 2016. That's what he'll earn.
Okay. So
Wow.
everything that you just saw that he bought was still pennies on a dollar.
Oh, yeah.
So when in reference to how he gives not just money, but he also gives life's currency. He gives time to these kids.
Yeah, that he does.
So it just, if your budget was larger, you would have a lot more too. Because I mean, they already tax him 30%. Sometimes, yeah, they tax him. He's the one in the highest tax bracket.
Oh, he's getting ripped.
Yeah,
yeah, he's getting fucking ripped.
So if they're taking 30%, I mean,
I think it may be higher than that.
Probably.
Yeah.
So just imagine this: you're spending more than you're spending less than what you're getting taxed.
Yeah. I think it may be even and equally close. You know what I mean? Roxy, baby, let her out, dog. Let her out of the cage. I can edit that out. Just open the door. Hi, live people. That is Roxy. My little baby girl has stopped by. That's good, dog. No, she's in. You just had to let Roxy out. All right, she's letting him in. We'll come back to me.
No, she's not in. She's not on the door.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, that's the joys of doing something live. My daughter is home and locked out. She wasn't feeling well this morning. She decided not to drive to school this morning. And let me tell you, my daughter, yes, is driving to school. She turned 16, gave her the family car, and she drives herself to practice 3 or 4 nights a week, too, in training. It is so scary. It's so scary having your daughter drive. But she's safe. She's good. I know that. But it's the other people, right, that you worry about. And, I just suggest this to parents. When your kid starts driving, when you know they take off driving somewhere, be busy. Be doing something and be busy when your child decides to drive, at least for the first couple of weeks, because it's the only way you can not think about bad things happening when your daughter's driving. But, yeah, so Granny picked her up from school today. She loves doing that. I love Granny. Shout out, by the way, while I'm on Grannies, to all the local grannies and uncles and aunts and grandmas and grandpas that fill in for parental units that are advancing their life and doing things with themselves and helping out with the family. Shout outs to you unsung hero grandparents out there that, really do a lot for those families out there. I love you. I love you, Granny. Thank you for doing so much. I love her. Well, welcome back, Mike. I think I was bitching about how much money that Anquan Bolden makes versus what he gave back.
Right.
And then to award somebody for it. And then granted, yeah, it's, $6 million a year salary. Here's $5 million up front. If they tax that probably once, but he's got lawyers and tax loopholes. And remember, everything he donates to is also a tax write-off loophole too. So as much money as he's raising for his nonprofit are write-offs for his $12.5 million. So there's wonderful loopholes in helping people. He's lawyered up and done well. But I only brought it up. I really didn't have a view either way, because the point, if I had to choose a view, the view I would take is he's fucking helping. Who gives a shit? That's the real honest truth. But at the time, I couldn't help but watch it and go, but there's a huge contrast between the speech I just heard and the guy I just watched walking through his closet. You know what I mean? I'm like, somewhere in the middle of that's probably him. That's why I think I brought that shit up.
What made it contrast? What was the contrast about it? What made you feel like he was?
I couldn't picture the NFL Man of the Year bragging about a sunglasses and sneaker collection.
Well, he didn't do it in his speech.
No.
So they asked him. It's not like he says, "All right, look, if I'm going to be this guy, come to my house."
But he lives that guy. I don't want to get it twisted. He does a lot. And the truth, like I said, the truth beneath all this shit, despite the argument, is he's fucking doing something. I could give a shit if he's given 0.2% of his percentage. It's something. You know what I mean? So fuck that. I just brought it up for sake of argument, because you see that contrast between the money. Hell, we do it as a society. The money that we give towards schools seems to be cut first anytime we want to do something. We cut education first. I mean, you live in it. How strained are the budgets of growing, and cultivating, students and teachers?
They have a pretty decent budget, but when you account for the things that we don't think about, new textbooks do get old. Substitutes.
Hell, they should just throw out all the first textbooks. Most of them are full of bullshit lies anyway.
Yeah. So, but you have textbooks, and each principal get their own budget too. So within their budget, they got to cover everything. I mean, from everybody that comes in, concession stands, upkeep on the school, pressure washing the schools, the electricity bill, tutors. You pay for all this stuff. And all this stuff, the principals have to just come out with out of their budget. So what they try to do is hold football events and so forth to try to raise more money. But when the money isn't coming in from the community, then the school is going to be in shambles. So you leave the principal stuck with this small budget that she has to work with. Because, I mean, if you, let's say you have, I'm just going to shoot for the stars and say 2,500 students. You get a $10 million budget. That's not a lot because you have to feed these kids every day for 180 days.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay teachers 180 days worth pay.
There was a contrast I picked up on you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Finish your point, and then I'll try not to interrupt you.
Yes. So you have teachers that you have to pay for 180 days straight. You have substitutes when teachers don't feel well. Teachers still get paid. Yeah. But the substitutes, you have to pay the substitutes. So you're going to pay the substitute anywhere from $100 to $120 a day.
Yeah.
And
which is still shit fucking money,
right?
Which I think is so fucking weird. Here's a issue I got.
But it's a substitute.
Still, we pay.
All you got to do is get an associate's degree.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't be teaching. The way I see it is, we pay our teachers shit, so we technically just put the most random underachiever in front of our students.
Wait a minute.
No, I'm kidding. Hold on. Let me hold on. Let me feel it out.
All right.
Because listen, my point is they know they're walking into $30,000 a year in Florida salary, 38. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's where you're in between 40 if you're wild, whatever, which is still shit. It's hard to live on that. It's shit money, and it's very hard to live on that, especially if you have a family. We decide to pay our students shit, or our teachers shit, right? Mm-hmm. And what I meant was, we pretty much can throw any Joe Schmo in front of a student, is what I meant. You gotta get a 2-year degree.
That's to be a substitute.
Right. That's still, they still go in front of our kids. You know what I mean? So whether it's a substitute or a 4-year degree with another teacher, right? I can get a 4-year degree, follow education, right, and get into teaching. But my point is, if a guest speaker wants to come talk who may be known in the community, he's got to get checked and a thumb up his butt through TSA to make sure he's allowed to walk on campus, right? And same with teachers, right? Hell of a background check to be a teacher. It's ridiculous. I mean, TSA might as well do it. Mm-hmm. We care about them so much, our students, that we do all that, but we pay the teacher shit. I mean, look, we know if you make a salary huge, it attracts the best. We know that. And so it will attract the best, not necessarily the best people. I'm not saying the best people. What I'm saying is if I put out an award for $1 million for the best 2-minute trailer movie, that somebody can put together, mm-hmm. I get so many entries in the type of production that will go into that versus I'm going to do a $2,000 prize for a movie trailer, the production that goes into that. And so that's what I'm saying is if being a teacher meant a master's degree, maybe it meant longer education, right? Longer things, which I also think if you're going to be a teacher, a doctor, and a lawyer, you should be able to go to school for free, personally, because you're bringing an added skill to the community, and it takes a while. It's fucking 6-7 years. So I think teaching should be a longer pathway. I think, cops too. It should be a longer pathway to be that, and the salary should match the effort, that you put in. Right now, the 4-year degree is pretty much worth $30,000, $40,000 a year, And that's what my contrast is. We're so protective of who goes in front of them.
Right.
But yet we're not willing to pay for some of the smartest minds to be in front of them on a regular basis, right? What is real? It seems like half is bullshit.
Well, this is how you got to look at it. Everybody has their hands tied. when you look at the school board, Orange County Public School Board are amazing. They do what they can with the budget that they have.
Sure. Yeah.
So they still have a lot that they have to pay for. There's stipulations every time a new school open up, how much space they have, like how many acres they have to purchase. They still got to pay for the building, and you're getting new schools being built because Orange County is growing.
Yeah.
Now,
it's ridiculous to what they have to do, and they
right.
do well.
So I mean, it's
the best they can.
Right, and when you look at it from the point of the school boards, a lot of times it's not the school board. Sometimes it's legislation, it's state. So sometimes somebody can make a bad decision in office in state, and they expect for the school board to try to work with it the best way they can so that they can still pay their teachers something.
So the school board a lot of times is the messenger getting killed.
Yeah, they getting eaten alive. So when they get eaten alive, of course they're going to take on the bulk of it.
They're held to state standards locally, so the county legislation takes the brunt of it.
Right. And honestly, man, let me tell you, I don't know if you ever went to a school board meeting. They're going to have one. They just had one this Thursday.
Dude, you could do, right after Jerry Springer and Maury Povich, you could put on some sort of parody called the school board meeting.
Well, the school board meetings go very well, but they always have their hands tied. Like,
I mean,
they really want to do a lot, but they just can't.
It's the characters that stand up and talk that become quite entertaining. The ones that decide, their 5-minute speech in front of the school board, is going to be this life game changer thing. That's what I meant. Is you could seriously just film every school board meeting and eventually have some decent film work for some sort of television special. Yeah. I mean, you get yelled at from both sides. You're elected positioned officials. I mean, look, like you said, they're dealing with parents that are teaching to blame authority in the school for the problem.
And then you have, and if parents don't understand that their role as a parent is to help their kids develop as great people. Now, when these kids come into school and they're not great people, guess what the teacher have to do? The teacher have to deal with these kids who are underdeveloped as far as what do you call it? Home training. They don't have any home training, so now the teacher has to train before they teach, and that's tough, man. And kids come into school with all these emotions too. So you got kids
on all parts, man.
You got kids who they're homeless. You got girls who have been raped by their mom boyfriend, so she filed a report. Now the mom kicks the little daughter out and brings her boyfriend back in the house. So now she doesn't have a place to stay. She living sofa to sofa, and these are the things that these young kids are dealing with. So they got all this emotional baggage that they're dragging into school, and you expecting for them to just want to learn. So now teachers have to be.
That's what I'm saying. And then you're going to hand them a 4-year graduate at 22 years old who's had a silver spoon in her mouth or his mouth the whole life. Give him a 4-year degree, a couple things on psychology, and send him in his classroom.
And when they go in like, oh, I'm going to get me a new class. My kid's going to love me. And these kids like, we gonna test you. You think we getting some tests? You think we got the FCAT? Or you just wait till you see how you turn out within the first 4 weeks? Because the kids are there to test you. The kids are there to test you if you really care and if you really don't. And you can't be soft and be a pushover.
See, and I think a lot of people see that as bad little kids when they're testing the boundaries and territories. They're really testing like we would if we were on a meet somebody as an adult. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't just go, hey, here's my whole life. I trust you with everything. Right. So, but as teachers, right, a lot of them and parents expect the teacher to walk in and all the kids to just go, we trust you completely with everything you say. Even though we've come from a place where we've never had trust or love.
Right. And so they're going to have a defense up because they're in survival mode already. They live in survival mode. You think they're not going to come to school in survival mode? The only way they're going to come to school not in survival mode is if you let them know that you got their back and you're willing to go to bat for them. You're going to fight for them when their parents don't.
Well, and what is the 22-year-old teacher who hasn't really seen much hardship in life, who is parentally unit raised? Remember, what do they see as? Remember, it was authority. They're taught that, well, authority said you study. Authority said you go to bed. Authority said you wake up.
Yeah, it's all subjective.
Right, so that's what I meant when I said, well, I misspoke and said underachievers. That's not what I meant. What I meant was unexperienced.
There we go.
So you have a 4-year degree person, which I think it should require a minimum of masters to walk into a high school. And you should have lengthy psychology courses, lengthy sociology courses before you're A, a policeman, or B, a teacher. That should just come with it. You shouldn't, I think more and more they're leaning toward you have to have a master's now. They're leaning more that way, I think, which is good. But one, it shouldn't cost teachers so much because now they're strapped at 40, 45 a year paying off fucking student loans.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, that's what I meant is that 22-year-old that has seen nothing. I mean, there's no class that's going to teach her or him how to communicate with that type of student. There's no way.
That was the other part. The other part is, once again, you're right. 22 years old, and they're still underdeveloped as people. So when you have underdeveloped people trying to become great teachers. Now, however, I feel like every new teacher should have should be the mentee of a tenured teacher.
That's a huge point. I love that because as a counselor, right, we have to do an internship. Right. And I'm supervised for 2 years. Yeah. For 15 hours a week. I'm for a mentor like that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that seems so logical to you up the length of school and education to that standard. You do an internship. What if you had dual teachers to where there was always two in the classroom? One was an understudy intern and one was a teacher. And they had to do 2 years of internship as a teacher assistant, making 30, 40 grand a year. And then once you became a teacher, now you're in your 60s, 70s, depending on your location. Chicago does well. New York does well. They do 80s and, sometimes higher, but it costs a living. But if you know what I mean? I love that idea, bro.
It'll be more of the issue of a school budget, though. Because the principal will still have to pay for it.
Can't afford it. But we can build a $13 billion battleship. See, what the fuck?
Hey, I'm going to stick to education. I'm going to stay in my lane.
I never stay in my fucking lane.
You're not getting ready to merge me from that one.
I got a big issue not staying in my lane, dude. I go way out and speak so fast sometimes where I can be like, man, I should probably research that real quick. Or I read it somewhere or I saw it on a documentary. You know what I mean?
I think what should happen is, since college tuition is already there, put it in their college tuition fee. To where
explain, what do you mean?
Like, because for teachers anyway, like if you're a teacher, I think it's like 5 years, and then your what you call it's forgiven. So your student loans are forgiven after 5 years if you're a teacher for 5 years.
Wow.
So
now, can I switch and go be a teacher and they'll forgive all my student loans for
do it for 5 years?
Yeah, but they don't even forgive my student loans for being a teacher. Probably not the ones for.
I think they still will. You just got to show proof that you've been a teacher for 5 years. So this is what I'm thinking. What if they just for teachers? What if they just upped it 20,000, right? So if they upped it 20,000 for their last 2 years, or 20,000 per year for 2 years.
Any teacher right now that's listening to this podcast, Mike Rummel, and they just heard 20 grand tattooed on the back end of their fucking budget, I'm telling you, 4 or 5 teachers went into tears immediately right now.
Well, here's the deal. So, like, let's say once they finish their AA and they get into their 4-year degree, tack on 20 years onto their tuition. Tack on 20,000 onto their tuition for those 2 years. But you'll pay them that 20,000 per year, their junior and their senior year. So it's not like they're really losing. But the reality is they'll get paid 20,000. Now, if you're in college and you're making $20,000 a year,
holy shit, you're balling.
You're balling.
Yeah.
So your whole focus is really just going to be school, going in and understanding the basics of what it is to be a teacher.
God, they need a full reconstruction, it sounds like, of this process, dude.
Yeah, so if they do that and then they graduate, and once they graduate with their bachelor's degree, they go inside the schools and teach. That 5 years of teaching, then they already have loan forgiveness. So they're not going to have to worry about paying that $40,000 back because it's loan forgiveness. And it's not coming out of the school board budget. It's not coming out of it's not coming out of the school's budget. And it's already been forgiven by the government. I think that would influence a lot more people to want to become teachers. Yeah,
because it's a tough road. You're broke in college, and you're broke when you graduate. You're broke when you're employed.
Right. So just
good retirement though.
Yeah, phenomenal retirement. So
they handle you on the back end.
Yeah, they take care of you. So just imagine if they did that, then a lot of issues will get fixed. Because for one, every teacher will have an assistant. Or most teachers will have an assistant. For the teachers who need an assistant, they'll have an assistant.
5 more just cried. You said 5 more. I can see him driving, listen to this. One cursing me out on something I said, and then 2 going $20,000 more on my salary. You know, a teacher assistant. Oh my God! I bet half of the. No, I bet more. I bet 80 to 90% of these teachers, if given a teacher's assistant and 20 grand more a year, would chase continuing education on their own.
Oh, I'm not saying give the teachers 20,000 more a year. No, not at all. I'm saying pay the teacher's assistant that.
Yeah,
but it just comes out of.
I would add 20 to this teacher's salary too.
I would too, but it'll put a strain on the principal and the school board.
Well, we got to find the money. You know, I mean, that's who's in front of my kid, man.
Right. And you know, you always invest in your future. So I'm with you on that. But it just, I think
they could bring more U's in. You see what I'm saying? So
now we're talking. now this helps my budget. I like my budget.
You're a budget guy too. But I mean that to where, you know, if I love the idea of adjunct professors at colleges, right? And, you know, I'm going to lead into talking about free college because that's what I want to ask you about, free education. And I'm a fan of free college, and I think it should be. I mean, hell, Bob Marley said it. If education's the key, why isn't it free? And people get upset when I say that, and I bring it up on 2 fronts. A lot of people say they shouldn't pay for it because, well, they had to pay for it. And so I've heard parents say, well, my kids should have to pay for college because we paid for it. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you give them? And then a notion where people go, no, you should have to earn college. And then I go, motherfucker, you still got to get in. You still got to do the work and pass. I love it how people, when they hear free college, they go, no, we're just giving it away. We're enabling them. And I'm going, they got to study. They got to read. Do you know what life is like in fucking college? So I'm like, you got to earn it still.
I feel like if you're going to do free college, I think you should up the requirements.
Oh, it will. And right now, though, college is even getting so thin. Like, it's so difficult to get into schools right now. I mean, the scores got to be so high. You got to go beyond just average now. Now, smaller schools, sure. But states colleges, they fill up, man. They got, like, UCF right here local, I think is probably one of the most, if not the most populated college in the country.
Right.
I mean, I remember when it was 20,000 students. And now you're 60,000. It's crazy. You know, and so they up the standards hard enough to get in. And then if they do it free, the college doesn't have all the money that they have to do what they do, is what they complain. Right. But I kind of say, look, they're balling off of sports. Make sure sports teams have to do well. That's how you get money. And you should pay the college athletes. Agreed. I also think you should pay college athletes.
I feel like they should get a stipend. Well, let me say it like this.
Oh, no. They get an education. They're getting that's what everyone fucking argues.
Right, well, this is what I'll tell you.
But guess what? If education's free,
right?
Guess what? The college can't say they're giving athletes anymore.
Free scholarship.
That's right. So it's bigger than just making college free and can't afford it.
Yeah, I think they should. I think they should give. I think. What do you call those things? Man, I'm having a brain fart. What do most rich kids have that they
trust fund?
Trust fund.
Yeah,
I
trust
think they
fund.
Should set up a trust fund. And I think based off of how much merchandise that student sells, like how many jerseys, like let's say it was Jameis Winston, how many Jameis Winston's jerseys sold off the rack?
Oh my God!
I think that should go into a trust fund, and all that money, like you split it. I mean, split it 50-50, because you're already going to make money off the tickets anyway.
Yeah.
So when it's on the personal level, like just go ahead and put all that in the trust fund as far as 50-50 on that. Now, how many tickets they sell as far as a team, I think you should also put a substantial amount into the trust fund for that. So that way, while they're playing and while they're doing well, that money doesn't become a distraction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
that's true. That's smart. That's a lot of people talk about that. That's true. You don't want to give a 19-year-old big money like that who you want focusing on a sport for sure.
Right. So
yeah.
So
I like that idea.
And with athletes, I don't know if people understand how some of these athletes go to school. Like a lot of these linemen, like offensive linemen, they're going to school to be doctors. So, you know, their workload is crazy.
Yeah.
So they have no free time at all.
Mm-mm.
And when
when you play sports in college, you really miss the entire college experience.
Yeah, you have no social life.
Mm-mm.
And then you're getting beat up too while you're on the field and in practice and working out. So a lot of your time,
everyone on campus also thinks you're privileged, and so they kind of look at you like your shit's easy, and you're like, motherfucker, you know, it's rough.
Yeah, they don't see the playbooks, they don't see the 5:30 meetings, they don't see the 7:30 meetings at night. They don't see how They don't see how they got to wake up early in the morning, work out, then go to class, leave class, go to practice.
Hell,
Once they're done with practice, got study hall. From study hall to going back to watch film, then you come home. Then you still have then we haven't even talked scrimmage.
Well, I'd like to contrast the numbers, right? Because you know what they do? They always argue, well, the education you're getting is, priceless or whatever. I said, no, it has a number. Because if I wanted to go to, say, FSU, use James Winston. If I wanted to go to FSU for 4 years, it would cost me X. Mm-hmm. What I'd like to see is the 4 years it costs to go there versus how much money they made off of James Winston jerseys. And now, could they argue that, well, he gets a free education, or could they make, I don't know, $6, $7, $8, $10 million on jersey sales? Meanwhile, it's $150,000 to go to FSU for a degree up to a master's, maybe, right? And this is still the argument.
And you know what's funny? College stadiums are a lot larger. They're like almost twice the size as NFL stadiums.
I did what?
Yeah,
Division I.
Division I.
Really?
Right? Yeah. So when you go to a Florida game, you can get 70,000 in that stadium.
Yeah, I think some of the biggest are like 80,000. I think I heard 120 somewhere.
Sometimes 120,000, depending on where the stadium's at.
Yeah.
You know how much an NFL stadium a whole? 30, maybe 40,000.
No shit.
Yeah. So when you look at these numbers, you know they're banking off these athletes, and I just think the athletes should get paid for it. But I feel like if they're sacrificing their body,
you're right on point, brother. Look at you. I had to fact check you. I fact check you right here, and you are right on. Look. The number one stadium globally is Run Grotto in the 1st of May Stadium in Punganoi at 150,000. Backed up, look at this. Number 2, largest stadium, and this is the world, mind you, the world. Michigan Stadium for Ann Arbor, Michigan, our Wolverines, 107,000, right? Number 2, Beaver Stadium, Pennsylvania State College at 107,000. Number 3, Ohio Stadium, the arch rival to Michigan, in Columbus, Ohio, at 104,000.
Right.
No joke, dude. Look at you. So,
and then go to NFL stadiums.
NFL largest stadiums. I knew it would be Dallas.
That's astronomical.
Everything's bigger in Texas. We do it big. Get it done.
Egos and all.
Right. So that's true. Egos. I don't know about everything else, but let's see. AT&T Stadium. Shout out to my sister-in-law. She's from Texas. Reminded me of her. Shout out to you. Happy birthday, Noelle Lowery, all the way up there in Alaska. So Dallas Cowboys is the largest stadium, holding 100,000 more spectators, though it normally only seats 80,000, and that's the largest.
Right.
And the one behind that is 60,000.
See?
Yeah. So that's Chicago Bears Stadium. Soldier Field at 60,000. You were way fucking on. Look at that, dog.
Yeah, so so when you see how many seats they fill, and how much, because you have college students, so they're going to eat a whole lot more. They're going to binge a whole lot more as far as food and chips and sodas and everything else at the stadium than they would anywhere else.
It's true. Oh God, once you start adding that up to it, and it's what, $85 for a small beer. $68 for a French fry.
Right. So you literally have automatic students. So you have automatic fan base, because everybody's already going there so they can go to the games. So when you got so many people going to these games, and you don't have to do any marketing, because it's already been set. You already know that there's going to be a football game on what days. The school's already setting all that stuff up. So all the money that they're getting. Now, granted, the school's going to get a lump sum and try to do some things with it, but you also got alumni coming back and pouring in. I feel like all student athletes should get paid.
Yeah, it's hard to not. Can we still make the fucking argument that the education is what the athletes get? Is that really is that still a logical fucking argument? Is it really? To say that they get an education. Like, here we go. I looked it up. Cost of attendance for the fall and spring at FSU for personal in-state is $21,000. Out of state is $35,000
a year.
Yeah, a year. Right. So you're looking at, 20, 40, 60, 80. You're at $80,000 to $100,000. Right. For a 4-year bachelor's degree. So if you're a teacher with a 4-year degree from FSU, you're somewhere in the range of $70,000 to $100,000 in debt, which I know correlates to about $1,000 a month for 10 years of your life.
Yeah.
A little less. You can do $500 to $600 probably. $500 to $600 a month for 10 years of your fucking life.
Right.
To go make $38,000 a year teaching, dealing with the kind of, troubled students that are from this fucked up backgrounds, man. Like, it's no wonder.
And the teachers are getting beat down and wore out because the school board doesn't really have the budget to support the teachers the way they want to. So, that's why I'm big on making sure I start this Fit for the Fight campaign for teachers, which is to give teachers like massages inside the school or even after school. Make sure we help them out with their health because, I'm big on health. My phrase is always, when health is absent, wisdom can't reveal itself, art can't manifest, strength can't fight, wealth becomes useless, and intelligence can't be applied. So when you walk into a school to where kids don't eat, so now you have kids that are unhealthy. So kids that have issues as far as since their health is absent, wisdom can't reveal itself, art can't manifest, strength can't fight, wealth becomes useless, and intelligence can't be applied. Then you have teachers where health is absent, wisdom can't reveal itself, art can't manifest, strength can't fight, wealth becomes useless, and intelligence can't be applied. It's kind of hard to get something off the ground if everybody's unhealthy and if everybody isn't stable. So between unstable households, and then you also have these teachers who once again are struggling because they still have to pay their budget. So the parents are in the struggle. Students see the teachers in the struggle. And between parents and teachers being in the struggle, the kids think that life is a struggle. So until we start pouring back into our schools to give our principals bigger budgets or pour back into Orange. Now look, Orange County, taxpayers here in Orange County has done a phenomenal job as far as making sure that we get more funds for our schools, and that's great, and I applaud that, which is why I love Orange County. Like, man,
we were talking about that. We were talking about you going into schools and how I like that. If you look at a lot of private schools, that are $60,000 a year type shit. Community School in Naples is one of them, down in Naples, obviously, but it's not this, I don't know, weird teaching thing that they're doing now that we've talked about before. What's the background? What's it called? The new teaching method?
Oh, the Marzano plan.
Yeah, I was watching some of this math shit they're teaching them. I don't know what the fuck is wrong with these people.
Well, that has nothing to do with the Marzano plan.
All right, so either way, my thing is this: it's a new kind of school down there, right? It's kind of, the kids follow their own interest in teaching and they cultivate that, right? It's wonderful and very expensive. For reasons I don't know. I'm sure we could copy the same plans, about what they're doing to do up here. And let's look, when you get a master's degree or higher, you deal with a lot of adjunct professors, people that are not professors. They own companies, they're in the workforce of whatever, and they come in and teach a class, right? Because we've devised that as the best way of teaching.
Right.
So, and also long-term professors too. So, but in schools, high schools, etc., I would like to see more of yous that are in the fields in schools every day, right? Talking to my kid, showing them different avenues all the time, you know what I mean? Of different choices and pathways to careers and help, and so much. It should be a smorgasbord of competence experience that our children should be able to walk around in a fairy tale of learning and grab this and grab that and just soak it all the fuck in my eyes. But we can't.
They have those. Man, there's so many programs that
they're
Orange
very
County,
expensive schools.
well, Orange County, man, I probably got to stop saying Orange County, but it's fine. But Orange County, like, they really have a good group of programs.
Yeah.
And a lot of these programs are good. Like, City Year. They're not teacher assistants, but they're tutors for students to stay after school. So whatever they don't get, it's been substituted. So you have United Way, you have City Year, you have Elevator Orlando. Man, you have man, there's a lot. Like, so there's a lot of where they pick up the slack, and it's a lot that OCPS allows to come in and pick up the slack for what the kids don't have at home.
Yeah.
So in schools, their job is to really just teach the structure of the school, but at the same time, like, you have so many different programs that kids just don't utilize. Like, they don't use the resources. Like, I'll tell you like this: in Orange County, if you fail as a student, it's your fault.
That's strong to say, man, because a lot of parents right now be trying to come after you. Say that.
I'm telling you right now, what I see a lot of laziness. Because, when I'm in the schools, let me tell you what I do. All right, so kids know that I teach them how to learn, and I'm phenomenal in math and science. I can teach any kid math and science. I don't care what kids you put in front of me. I'll learn this learning language. Once I learn this learning language, I can show him the ropes because I can teach him in the way that he understands, right? So when I go inside the schools and I teach I teach a kid how to learn, obviously there's a formula for it. And I say, all right, so use this formula, and I'll walk them through the formula 3 or 4 times. And I say, all right, so you got it? Yeah, I got it. Then he'll run through it and he say, all right, cool, man, I got it. And then the next time he need help with something, I say, all right, well, look, meet me in the library after school. So 2:30, 2:45? Yeah, that's fine. I get in the library and they're like, oh, man, I just had to go home. I couldn't do it. Or I'm like, all right, look, so here's going to be your assignment for it, because I'll see him Tuesdays, and sometimes I come to the school Thursday if I commit to coming there on a Thursday. So I said, all right, so today's Tuesday, your test is Friday. Come Thursday and show me what you got done Thursday. Man, I'll see him in the hallways before it's in the school name, but I ain't get a chance to get to it. What were you doing this weekend? Oh, I was just hanging out with my friends. So you just ain't want to do it? No, I'll have it done by then. Okay, so look, 2:30, 2:45 in the library. I better see it done, because I can't help you. I can't help you if you don't want to help you. I'm not going to save you from you. I can't save you from you. Whatever you're going to do, you're going to do. So I can't save you from you. So get this done and we'll see. Man, we get there and I'm like, man, you know I live in Lake Nona. So it takes me 45 minutes to get here. So it's tolls, gas, and time to come here for you to tell me that you didn't get it done. But once again, that's a trait that was passed down from their parents.
Yeah.
So you just got to really understand, because a lot of parents, they don't come to the PTA meetings.
It's funny you say that. Not funny. It's true in my eyes that if you fail, because even when I was in the system, there are a lot of programs out there, but it seems like the programs either are hard to get into, hard to find, a lot of paperwork, a lot of process. It appears to be. And, a lot of programs do exist, because I know a lot of people back in the clinics, when I was trying to help people and they wanted to get clean, there's a lot of resources that you can reach for that can really help you, instead of just playing victim card. If you really want help, it just requires you really wanting help and doing some things, So there are a lot of programs, that pick up those slacks that do that shit, and I agreed. And some counties better than others,
right?
That do that. And obviously some schools better than others. When you're got 1,000 students paying you $60,000 a year to attend your, community school, it's going to be well done. Right. And money's a huge aspect in education. When I think money shouldn't even be a question in education. It's not a question in our military. There's a blank check to the Pentagon every year. So, but yet we say we do this for the freedom of our children. Okay, we have a blank check to fight, who knows, this year. You know what I mean? It'll be somebody else next year, to protect our freedoms and our children. But yet to educate, cultivate, grow, enhance, and instill principles of truth and honor and love in our kids, well, no, that's the bottom budget. That's what we'll cut first so we can build bigger guns and shit, And it's so hard for me. And so college leaks into that. A point I want to go back to about the college is, I know a lot of people are yelling at me about free college, etc. I think we should, because the kids got to learn. And I just looked up, FSU made somewhere between $24 and $35 million last year from the football program. Holy shit, right? So don't tell me you ain't got the money to pay them. You know what I mean? That's just what we know. You know what I mean? And you said concessions and everything else that goes with this. So you got the money to pay them. And if college is free, most people would say, well, how do you run the college? And I got to bring up the point is, well, there was a time where colleges had professors that had to publish research, invent things, write books. They had to bring in money. Their departments had to do these things and research, and they brought in grants and loans and studies. A lot of colleges still live on that in departments. Well, now you got to kind of earn your spot. You got to keep researching, keep reading, publish a book. You have to, add into the growth, right? Our colleges should become more, instead of hubs of just activism, which I think is great. They should be. It helps young minds reach out. But our government shouldn't be relied on as being the hub of technology creation, right? Nor should privatized companies. I think colleges where there's the youth, because that's who's thinking about the future. Mm-hmm. They're thinking about their 30 years from now. A corporate and private and government companies building bombs and heat-seeking God knows what. They don't care. You know what I mean? So, I went on some fucking tangent, dude. And I don't know. I think that colleges could find a way to earn the money. They could find a way to keep afloat. They're going to have to function like a business, and I think you offer, because the kids still got to study. They can't fail. They still got to pass classes.
Right.
And I think if an education is willing to be earned, it should be earned. Take the last word, bro. We got to get out of here anyway, man.
Well,
we got to
well,
go look at those gyms across the...
Valencia is the number one community college in the nation.
Great place to start.
They're right here in Orlando.
Great place to
Man,
start.
I'm telling you, Orlando is like the hub of education, and people don't even know it. They're sleeping on it.
My favorite professor, Dr. George Brooks. He is from Valencia.
Stop playing. You're not talking. We can go visit Dr. George Brooks because he still remember me.
Bro, he's one of the first mentors of my life.
Really?
He was sat in the very chair that you're in on this podcast and talked about the medieval beer that he brews. And,
oh my goodness,
dude! We talked about the fall of Rome.
When you want to go see him,
Dude, I love that guy.
Hey, that's my dude.
No, small fucking world.
Listen, man, Dr. George Brooks is the one when I really started focusing on my spiritual growth.
Really?
Ask him.
Dude, that's a fucking trip. Because he was that for me. You see me get all verklempt a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, here, look, if you don't believe me, man, I'll put it on. See, I'm a little verklempt because, he was influential in my life. Back when I was in Valencia, I was a dope boy. I was selling dope. I was robbing dope boys. I didn't give a shit. But I always stayed in school because no matter how wild my life got that weekend or that week, I had school. And his classes on humanity, he teaches humanities, religion, medieval humanities. I mean, it would just open me up. And it really opened me up, man. And he's been close to me, been close to my heart ever since. I haven't talked to him in a long time. And since our last show, we did our last show last year, maybe a couple months ago.
He's still at Valencia East Campus, right?
Yeah, he studied East Campus, 10 year. He was under Dr. Sutton or David Sutton.
We should go see him.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's supposed to come back on the podcast, actually. We were trading back and forth, man. I mean, so, yeah, I got a 2-year from Valencia, so that's where I started. It's a better place to start after when I started back at counseling. That's where you go. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. Valencia's all right.
We can go today. What time is it?
We got to go look at these gyms, bro.
That's fine. We can go do both.
All right.
What time is it? 2:25?
Yeah, we've been kicking an hour and 50. Man, any shout-outs you want to give to somebody, bro? Let's get the fuck out of here,
man. Shout out to Orange County Public School Board member Nancy Robinson. She's been a great support with me as far as making sure I get everything done that I need done. She's supporting me 100% on teacher support. Dr. Scott Fritz, another guy, phenomenal chief academic officer for Orange County Public Schools. If y'all get a chance, please look them up. Both of them are phenomenal. They're really out to try to make sure that we help support our teachers, and they really are in it for the kids. So, a lot of events that Evans had, Nancy Robinson has been at almost every one. And Dr. Fritz, he gets it. Like, he understands it. He's passionate about it. So he's trying to make differences in Orlando too. So shout out to those two. And then Miss Bond. Oh my goodness. Miss Bond, I'm gonna get you. You already had me crying she had me crying 3 times in 1 week.
Ooh.
Or 2 weeks.
For you?
Yeah, within
That's
14.
rare.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
I love the passion. So and then obviously my boy Jarvis Willer, community schools director at Evans High School, shows the kids a lot of love, got a lot done. A lot of love to the hub for Evans High School. They do amazing things. Once again, City Year does amazing things. Man, it's too many. If I forgot you, please forgive me. But it's so many, and I'll add another hour and a half to this podcast just talking about y'all. But yeah, just shout out to those to all of them because man, they have been phenomenal. Oh, Miss Sharp, has been another one. Once again, Miss Fields, Teacher of the Year. I'm gonna stop because I'm gonna keep going.
Well, shout out to those man that do it, man. And I tell you, I gotta give you a shout out to you, myself. So a shout out to Mike the Messenger, man, for being in the schools and talking to those kids, man. And those conversations can change lives, man. It really does. So shout out to you for picking up the slack there and spreading that knowledge and helping and talking here again. I mean, we hang out, so we talk all the time, but for sharing it here. But and I'm going to give the shout out to be on the lookout for the B. Berry podcast coming very soon. We got 2 in the tank. 3 or 4 more to get ready, and then you will see the B. Berry podcast hitting iTunes and everywhere else, man. You've done some killer shows lately, so I think it's going to be cool, man, when you finally drop B. Berry. It's going to be good, man.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I dig it. So if you're watching live, man, I appreciate you tuning in. Share it, like us, review us. Love you. Mean it. This podcast will probably drop tonight, tomorrow, or sometime. Tune in live tomorrow. If you are in a relationship and you're not sure if it's a good one, if you're looking for a relationship, or if you're in a good relationship, I have a relationship expert, Leo Dianabal, who is way farther than that for me. He has been a mentor in my life, one of the most influential, someone who helped me create the transrational structure behavior theory, aka the now book Cognitive Rampage. He means a lot. He was on the show many, many times back in 2013, but I love him. I love him to death. He comes on Saturday, and he has a method to finding the right one. So if you're dating or thinking about it, you can apply his method to your relationship and where you're at now or where you're going to be. But tune in that for Sunday. And I know I told you I had Renee, the marijuana goddess, coming on Wednesday, but they had to reschedule for Monday at, I don't know, 1 or 2. So there's 2 podcasts coming off on Monday. Dr. Bobby Hoffman will be in studio, as I talked about in the beginning of the show, on Monday. Then right after that, we're interviewing Renee. We're going to talk a lot about weed and a lot about marijuana legalization. She took her company public and was very successful doing so. So a lot to learn there. Then Dr. Bobby Hoffman. Then Andrew Mariani's coming back up from Naples, from TAP, Total Athletic Performance. He'll be back in the cave this week. A lot coming up. So, yeah. Love you guys, man. I think that's all I got to say. Hope you're liking the new studio. Hope you're digging all the live shots. We'll be adding a third camera to this, too, so you'll be able to join us in the whole studio. But love you, brother Mike. Thanks again, man, for hanging out in the studio.
It's my pleasure.
I love you. Let's get the fuck out of here and go look at those gems, bro. Love y'all. Peace. I know it's active. Are you sure you wish to exit? I don't know. Welcome to doing a live show, and I have no idea